LIV Golf has been picking up top PGA Tour pros left, right, and center, but while it may look like you can sign anyone you want by throwing a $200 million contract at them, it's actually far trickier to convince players to join a controversial league like LIV. In today's video, we're going to talk about why players don't want to join LIV and the truth behind Greg Norman's feud with Rory McIlroy. So keep watching. First up, players are afraid of potential backlash. It's been almost 5 decades since Jack Nicklaus sowed the seeds of the PGA Tour in '68, and yet no one's ever even come close to challenging its position at the top of the golfing hierarchy. Well, at least until Greg Norman stepped in with LIV. Of course, this isn't the first time someone's tried to start a breakaway tour. In fact, Norman himself had a go at it back in the 90s, but nothing's been as successful as the Saudi-funded league. Now, even though there was always going to be some resistance to the idea of a new competition that shatters the existing status quo, the fact that LIV is doing it by dumping billions of dollars from the Saudi investment fund is what makes it extremely controversial. In fact, the upstart circuit's been accused of sports washing, destroying golf, and whatnot. And of course, the majority of this criticism has to be borne by the players themselves. So for a lot of people, that sort of public humiliation just isn't worth it, even if the paycheck is big. Phil Mickelson, for instance, had to go into hiding for a couple of months after being bombarded by questions about the Saudi league. What's more, Bubba Watson also admitted recently that he was worried about what people were going to say and think about him, which made his decision a lot trickier. For him, the fact that anyone could make up a fake name on social media and slander him or his family was a hard truth that he had to accept going into it. Up next, Watson compares joining LIV to buying a house. Now, even though the 44-year-old was hesitant about putting down his signature due to the backlash he'd received, things have actually been pretty great for him. In fact, he added that not a single person has come up to his face and said anything bad about him. Obviously, you can't dodge online trolls, but considering how some of his colleagues have fared since joining, we'd say that's a win. Speaking with Bunkered, Watson then explained his thought process as he was signing the contract, and according to him, it was kind of like buying a new house because the product was great and he loved the idea of it. At the same time, though, there was this lingering doubt at the back of his mind. You know how you see the insane amount of money you're just about to spend on a house and you wonder to yourself if you're making a mistake. That being said, the two-time Masters champion admitted that he's been super happy with his decision. Plus, everything from the vision to its execution has been fantastic from Norman and everyone else involved with the breakaway tour. And for him, it's just perhaps the fear of the unknown that's stopping other players from joining the LIV Golf League, which, to be fair, makes sense as the PGA Tour, despite all this competition, is still the dominant force in golf. Not to mention, as we head into the second season of the Saudi League, we still don't know what the situation is with player suspensions, ranking points, or major tournaments. What's more, there's been some turmoil among LIV ranks too. Obviously, not everything's perfect, and there is some trouble in paradise as the breakaway league has had to make some pretty big changes at the top during its off-season. The chief operating officer, Atul Kolsla, for example, resigned recently after he apparently got into a furious argument with the governor of the Saudi Wealth Fund during the league's season finale in Miami. What's more, even though they've since hired people to replace him, things still aren't as stable as they would have liked, especially considering just how much they're going to ramp up for season 2. Oh, and then there's the issue of securing a TV rights deal too, which has been a massive roadblock for them for well over a year at this point. Though for Bubba, that's just a product of building a new business, because at the end of the day, you can't succeed without some trial and error along the way. And for him, the possibility of being a part of this new golfing revolution was worth the risk, though he admitted that other people may not feel as confident about a big move like this. Having said that, the 44-year-old then talked about how he went into it with an open mind and had a lot of conversations with his team and his wife, so by the time he actually had the pen in his hand, he had already weighed all the different options and wasn't having second thoughts about the thing at all. Not to mention, players still want to compete for ranking points. Of course, fear of the unknown is just one aspect of players' hesitation in joining LIV Golf, and in reality, a lot of people don't even care about the backlash they'd receive. Besides, these days, the situation has gotten better anyway, as more people have come to terms with the fact that the Saudi League is here to stay. The real issue, though, comes into play just how much the larger golfing community is trying to exclude the league from its circles. Seriously, the OWGR, for instance, is yet to grant ranking points approval to LIV Golf players, which are obviously crucial to retain your place in world rankings. Oh, and the situation has been pretty dire on that front, as some of the top players in the world are now slipping down the order. Take Bryson DeChambeau. He was one of the biggest names to join the league and was number 5 at the start of 2022. As we head into the next year, however, he slipped all the way down to rank 62. It's the same for Dustin Johnson too, who's dropped from 3rd to 40th in the world golf rankings. And of course, despite joining late into the season, Cameron Smith has also lost his number 2 spot now. You see, players just don't want to lose their world rankings because 1, you want to be the best. Even more importantly though, a lot of these people could potentially lose out on major tournament tournament eligibility as they slip out of the top 50. Moving on to Greg Norman's feud with Rory McIlroy. A lot is happening in the world of the LIV Golf League, and Greg Norman is at the center of it all. Not only is he managing all the day-to-day operations now after Kozla's departure, but he's also the mouthpiece for the circuit. After all, he is arguably the most cunning operator in golf right now. That said, while the Aussie legend is convincing PGA Tour members to join his side, he's also been having trading blows with some of them, namely Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods. Now, both McIlroy and Norman have been engaged in this quote-unquote feud for months now, but while it may seem like the Irishman's disdain for the LIV chief stemmed from the league itself, the actual reason is not related to that at all. Speaking to the Irish Independent, McIlroy explained the origin of his feud with Norman, saying that it goes all the way back to 2020 when he was asked about the PGL, which was another breakaway tour. According to him, there was no animosity between them, and he even actively avoided saying anything bad about the Australian. Still, it seems like the Irishman's comments referencing Norman's attempts to start a breakaway competition in the 90s struck a nerve, as apparently the 67-year-old then had a pretty testy back and forth with him. Not to mention, he was allegedly condescending the whole time, saying Rory didn't understand anything. McIlroy did admit that he was perhaps wrong to mention Norman at the time, as after watching a documentary about the LIV chief, he did change his mind. Coming up, McIlroy's apology and Norman's betrayal. Now here's the interesting bit. After seeing that documentary, McIlroy picked up his phone once again and texted the LIV chief to apologize for his earlier comments. In fact, he even went as far as to praise him for his golfing ability. What's more, the Irishman also revealed that he got a reassuring text from Norman back in 2011 after he'd just had a meltdown at Augusta, and according to Rory, that text actually helped him get through a lot. So in his apology, the world #1 also added that he'll always appreciate that sweet gesture, and that even though their opinion on golf is very different, he still wishes him all the best. Oh, and guess what? Greg reciprocated with a sweet text of his own, talking about how golf can be a force for good around the world, and how it's great to see Rory playing so well. Sounds great, right? What happened then? Well, only a couple of weeks after this super wholesome exchange, Norman went ahead and said that McIlroy was brainwashed by the PGA Tour during an interview with the Washington Post. Yikes. Talk about stabbing someone behind their back. And as for the Irishman, that was the turning point of their relationship, as he decided he was going to make it his business to be as much of a pain in the as possible. Finally, there's no end in sight to this feud. Yeah, we get why McIlroy's now hellbent on slandering Norman, but it's not like the Australian holds back either. In fact, we'd go as far as to say that the 67-year-old has been even more brutal than Rory in his responses. For instance, when the PGA Tour star said that Greg should step down from his position as LIV's CEO and let the real adults do the talking, the Aussie responded by claiming that he pays zero attention to McIlroy and Woods because they don't know what they're talking about. Plus, he also made a cheeky comment after that, saying that LIV's door is always open for Rory, so if he wants to join, he's more than welcome. And honestly, at the rate at which this back and forth is escalating, we don't expect it to end heading into 2023 either. That's a wrap on this video. What do you think though? Should they talk it out and put an end to this endless battle of wits? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.